Das ist ein Start-up. Da möchte ich auch nicht zu viel verraten, denn wir haben extra die Mitgründerin hierzu eingeladen, Veronica. Sie wird uns ein bisschen mehr dazu erzählen. Es ist aber immer noch im Themenblock pflanzliche Alternativen. Und ich darf Sie jetzt auf die Bühne bitten. Genau, vielleicht noch ganz kurz zur Erklärung. Sie wird jetzt den Vortrag auf Englisch durchführen. Genau.
Hi, danke Maya für the intro. Yes, I will do it in English. It's a little bit easier. It will flow a little bit better. Ideally, I was supposed to be before the panel, so hopefully I will be for the intro for the panel, but now I will try to incorporate what we hear in the panel in my talk. So I hope I don't make a lot of repetition. Yes, so we are Neggst. So in general, we are doing egg alternatives. Ideally, or our most innovative product is that we have an egg white and an egg yolk that are liquid, already ready, so you can use it as you would use a chicken egg. But I'm not really talking right now about my product because I think there's a lot of information and I can talk in the networking about it. And about the product development, I think you heard also the challenges that we are facing with plant proteins from Professor Targo. So I will be talking a little bit more about the challenges, where these challenges come from when we are using the plant proteins as ingredients. But first, and probably a lot of you are wondering why we are doing egg alternatives. And I just found this interesting data. I think it's a little bit old, but I wanted to ask you if you have any idea what is the ratio between the number of how many birds are used for poultry and how many are are in the wild. Any idea? No? Sorry? Not that much, but almost. So I mean, the ratio is 70% is just from poultry, and I think maybe it's now a little bit higher. So 30 are wild. So, and I think like Leonard was saying that we're using a lot of the crop production for feed and not for food really, that a lot of goes for chickens, poultry, and in general livestock. And with this, for example, I think this puts really into numbers what the panel was discussing. So from the whole land that we are able to live or be in, almost 45% is just for agriculture. And from this part, 80% is used for livestock. So this leaves us only with 16% for really crops for food. But this 16% is already great. So 83 from this 16% is from our food, for plant-based food. And I think Linda was saying that we still need to eat more leguminoses than we need to. And it would be so much easier when we move from the feed to the food, right? And I think I don't want to go too much into detail from this because I guess a lot of agri-food people are here and they already know all of this one. But I think this graph put it really nice into visual, how it's really distributed. And what they were saying, the 60% that we're using, it would be great that we can expand it because there's still a lot of things that we can do with the crops. There's, of course, for the product alternatives, a lot of the animal cell-based and microorganism based are really great, and they're still evolving and growing these categories. So right now, the plant-based proteins are still the way to go. So we still see an increase in the consumption of them, and there's still a lot of potential for use. But of course, with this comes a lot of challenges. So at Neggst, we are also we're choosing to use plant alternatives, mainly because it's really easy or they're ready to go to market, most of them, that you don't need a specific novel food. People know how to use it. They know what they are, so it's easy to incorporate it in the labels and they'll be okay. And they seem to be available locally. which I think you were saying that depending on the country or in Europe, you find specific varieties that you can use. But of course, there are some challenges. Some of them were already discussed in the previous keynote. There's a reduced functionality. There's this flavor of beanie or peas or so greeny. So, and of course the price. And they are not really available locally, and I will come to that. Yeah, so probably this you know really well. So Europe is mainly a continent that produces oilseeds. And in some parts, there are some legumes that are produced, mainly peas and beans. There are some others, lupins, soy, more in the south. And in Germany, it's mainly growing the oilseeds and fodder legumes. These fodder legumes, it's what it's usually mostly for feed. And when I take a closer look into Germany, for example, there's a lot of production of rapeseed oil. And you know that rapeseed oil also has a part of protein in it. So it's still a protein crop, but it's actually doesn't, so we don't take advantage of it. There's just a few companies that are really taking the process of how to improve the process of extraction of the oil, so at the end we can use the press cake for food and not only for feed. And these proteins are also valuable. They have completely different amino acid profile than legumes, for example. So it would be really interesting seeing more of these innovations coming into the market. And then from the crops, I will not talk that much of this because we know the legumes are important. They have a lot of advantages when we cultivate legumes, not only for, of course, for the food, for the people, but also for the general area of cultivation. They increase fertility, they increase the biodiversity of the earth, and also from, for example, for bees. But the most important part that I wanted to talk now or today is the challenges for getting these ingredients during the processing or the producing of the crops and the processing to get the protein that we use as startups for developing. And just for the optimization from the source and the growth for the cultivation, in this case, I will just mention quickly challenges that they already mentioned here in the panel. Of course, we know the challenges, climate change. There's not enough, the crops are not able to grow good enough in some soils. Climate change also affects the performance of these crops. So there's a lot of room for innovation. And this innovation not only comes from the government, so there's already practice in place that are helping farmers and in general the agriculture to improve this rotation and increase the supply for legumes. But there's also a lot of things that are coming for innovation and research. So we need to take advantage of these innovations, for example, the precision agriculture and breeding programs, because we want to optimize and increase the yield of crops, but also the proteins or the nutrients that they have inside. And this is mainly my topic, so this is I feel more comfortable talking, and maybe I will go a little bit more into the scientific part, but I think it's important that maybe all of you understand how this works. So for the extraction process, why the proteins we cannot do everything with plant proteins, or why is it challenging? And how is they affecting our products, the time of the development, and the taste of the products. So I wanted to start with a little science behind, and for example, with the chicken egg. So any one of you know why the egg white is transparent? And why it changed to white? So So usually the transparency comes from the reflection of, or not transparency, comes from the reflection of the light. So in this case, the egg white is transparent because the proteins are so apart that the light goes through, right? So there's no reflection. The proteins on eggs, or in general, like native, what I will say proteins are like, imagine like a little round, like together protein. And as soon as you start heating it up or applying other type of processes, the proteins like open up and then they start connecting to each other. So for first, then the light doesn't go on, that's why it gets white. And then second, you create this network that gives you the different properties, in this case, the gelling, or how you see the texture of the egg. And why I am telling you this, because the next one is important. So plant proteins are, in the crop, would be like that. So the proteins would be separated like in the crop. But with all the processing, especially the conventional, that most of the companies that produce the protein ingredients use, you have a milling, right? So it's easier to extract the protein. Then you have like a wet extraction, changing pH up, then changing pH down. And what this makes is that the protein not only opens, but then all of them come together, but not as a network, but as a agglomerate. And this is what creates is that, yes, you have a high protein content, but not all of it is available. So in this, it's just like a picture. For example, if you would like to create a foam, the air is not well distributed. If you want to create an emulsion, the oil will not be well distributed. And if you want to create a gel, this will not be distributed. So in foam, you can think about a meringue, in oil, like a mayonnaise. And here, for example, like in this case, our egg, right? So you will not get the product or the functionality that you are looking for with this type of product. So for us right now, most of the startups are working in product development. We are trying to make the best that we can with this type of protein. But there's some innovation, and there's some companies out there that are producing with different methods. Of course, it's more expensive, but it can help us to improve it. Ideally, this is already existing, that when you're milling the flour, you separate it just by air, the protein and the starch, but you have a lower protein content. And most of us, we want to increase this protein content to have less carbohydrates and more protein in our products. It also helps for better or different functionality. And this, what it does, that for example, if you start with this one, you can go through one of the novel methods is ultrafiltration or membrane filtration. What it does is that you go through different membranes with different sizes, and then you can have really nice separation of the proteins. And they are really native, so they are not all together, and then you can have a really nice distribution of the air, the oil, or if you want to create the network, then that would be. Yeah, so I hope it was not too much, the scientific part, but I wanted to explain you this because I think for a lot of you that are in the, like first, as a consumer, tasting the products, why they're not better products yet. That might be a reason. Another, that's why the quality of the ingredients that we get is not the best. I know producers are also trying, but it's still hard to find it. There's more expensive. I also put that there's a few processing companies in Germany. I mean, we use as the next peas and faba bean, which are the main crops here in Germany. Sadly, the ingredients that we get are not from Germany because we are lacking this functionality in our products. So I would like to see a little bit more of that. I think there's a few companies that are producing these proteins, and we just need a little bit more on the comparison of combination of methods so we can get them Of course, the price is really most expensive in these nice mild methods where we would get better products. So we need to reduce the gap between innovation and price. And of course, the slow transition of the methods from research onto upscale, it's a big part that we need to do together. And yeah, so we need to accelerate all of this. Plus, if there's any novel ingredient, as a government or as in Europe, we need to increase them or speed up the approval of novel food, novel methods, and the ingredients. Yeah. So with this, I just wanted to give you the keynotes to take with you. Plant-based is still the way to go. This we know. Maybe it's not happening as fast as we would like to, but we need to find a way to do it. Of course, reducing feed so we can produce more food and use efficiently the calories that we are cultivating. Sourcing local, that would be ideal, that everyone could source locally. Hopefully, with new innovations also from the crop side, more crops will be able to grow really nicely in the conditions that we have now in general, especially now talking about Germany, like the soil, it would be better for different crops, or crops would be adapted to the soil of Germany, yeah. And that there are technologies out there. There's research done but in both sides, from the crops, from the harvesting part, but also in how to process the ingredients so we can get most efficient, less cost intense and more sustainable protein ingredients. And as a startup, it's not that I'm raising or asking you for finance for us, but in general, the most important part is, of course, this gap. We have the research, the startups have the research, or universities have the research, but until we go to commercialization, there's a huge gap. And we would like that it is faster, but then we need the support from private and public sectors to make it happen. So I think you were asking what would be the take-home message or the next steps that I will do tomorrow or on Monday latest. For me is, of course, create awareness first for what are the challenges of the startups creating the protein or the protein products, and then like working hard, like being patient for the investors. I know we need to work hard, then we need, if we cannot be patient, then we need more money, and then this is good for accelerating development. And with that, I think that's it, I'm up. Good, thank you.